we will focus on resource inequities. It's important to remember that every school plays a role in preparing every child for future, regardless of their home life, parental involvement, race, or income level. Identifying resource inequities is a critical part of the comprehensive needs assessment process that Rachel just mentioned, that schools and LEAs must actively engage in. So, Education Code 64001 tells us that every SIPSA shall include proposed expenditures based on projected resource allocation. One crucial part of the SPSA is to address the findings from the Comprehensive Needs Assessment, again, as Rachel just shared, including identifying resource inequities. In other words, schools need to figure out if some students aren't getting the same resources or opportunities as others, and addressing resource inequities is paramount as it serves to guarantee that each student is afforded an equitable opportunity to attain high-quality education. So this is where resource inequities is specified, highlighted in the CDE's SIPSA template. The needs assessment plays a crucial role in identifying these inequities, ensuring that funding and supports are distributed fairly across schools. Schools use this process to align their resources with state priorities, such as improving academic achievement, increasing student engagement, and ensuring access to essential services. By reviewing budget allocations at both the district and school levels, strategies are developed to address the gaps, particularly in underserved communities. This approach, guided by the CDE SIPSA template, promotes equitable resource distribution to meet the needs of all students. So, to address resource inequities, we must first understand what resource equity means. Jonathan Travers, in a working paper published by ERS, highlights that resource equity isn't just about money. It's about how funds, people, and time are allocated and used to create equitable learning experiences for all students. We know that students with greater needs require more resources to achieve the same outcomes. Characteristics like gender or ethnicity should never be barriers to success, and holding lower expectations for any student group is an inequity itself. Any gaps between student groups, whether in dropout rates, attendance, discipline, or achievement, are potential signs of resource inequity. Schools must review these disparities to address the underlying conditions to close equity gaps. So resource inequities in the classroom can significantly affect equity supports provided to students. One key indicator is the use of lower quality books and instructional materials, which can hinder students' ability to access up-to-date and relevant knowledge. In some cases, schools may lack sufficient access to laboratories or rely on outdated computers, limiting students' ability to engage in hands-on learning or develop crucial technological skills. Another sign of inequity is larger classes or having less qualified or experienced teachers, which can diminish the personalized attention and instructional quality that students receive. Additionally, there may be inconsistencies in the application of effective instructional strategies and practices, leaving some students without the tailored support that they need to thrive. Identifying resource inequities is crucial for addressing disparities and ultimately achieving true equity in classroom support. So, how do we do this? On this slide and the tab, you can see that the CDE provides a variety of resources to help support equity efforts. Although the state doesn't prescribe a specific approach for identifying or implementing equity measures, these resources offer valuable guidance. Today, I'll be highlighting the 10 dimensions of equity available on this website, which serves as a framework for fostering more equitable school environments. So from the previous slide, here's the resource from the Alliance for Resource Equity for districts and schools seeking to review potential resource inequities. For those of you who are here today, I'm very confident that you're already familiar with many of these concepts. What we're focusing on now is how to apply these dimensions to identify and address resource inequities effectively. The 10 dimensions of resource equity include school funding, teacher quality and diversity, school leadership and diversity, empowering rigorous content, instructional time and attention, positive and welcoming school climate, student support and interventions, high quality early learning, learning ready facilities, and diverse classrooms, schools and classrooms. These dimensions are interconnected, so concentrating on just one might overlook critical relationships. For instance, enhancing curriculum and teacher training may not yield the desired results if the students don't feel safe and supported. Additionally, some dimensions can conflict. For example, increasing instructional time for math could reduce time for arts and music. Achieving the right balance requires understanding the specific needs of your students, schools, and communities. While no single dimension can solve every challenge, considering them together help create a more equitable and effective educational experience. Evaluating resource inequities also enables us to assess how well our strategies are working and to set clear goals and outcomes for different student groups. And we're going to come back to these dimensions shortly. So the process of identifying resource inequities begins with establishing a dedicated team. It's essential to bring together individuals who are closely involved in the work and can offer valuable insights into potential disparities. And the next step is to analyze the data to identify which dimensions are most affected and how they may interrelate. And meaningful discussions are key to gaining a deeper understanding of the issues pointing to specific resource inequities. And once these have been identified, you can explore evidence-based interventions to address them effectively. So first, prioritize building a team by identifying individuals who are most closely involved in the work, as well as educational partners who can offer objective insights and diverse perspective within your school or district. For example, while teachers are often closest to the day-to-day realities, parents can also offer valuable insights into resource inequities that may otherwise go unnoticed. Think carefully about who these key contributors are and how to involve them in the team. So, at your school or your districts, who would be part of this team? Can you share a few ideas in the chat? And please do not include any individual or specific names, but who might that key role be at your school or district? What positions might they hold? So think about it, because this is really essential in building your team. Okay. Thank you. Definitely a PD coach. Some of you guys messaged me. You have your parents, you have your department chairs. That's great. So next, as you delve into data, think carefully about the specific information you need and what you aim to uncover. This isn't just about admiring the data. This is about taking action based on what it tells us. As we review the data on this slide, consider what stands out to you and what questions arise. What additional information might your team need? Are there related data points that could provide further insights? And most importantly, what does the data reveal about the disparities in outcomes? And how can this guide our next steps? So you might be able to use a process like, what do you notice? What do you wonder? And you want to share the data, and part of your team will be able to gather data to make it presentable to a larger group, to the team, to make sure that every data points are addressed and connected. Next, identify which dimensions, remember the 10 that I just mentioned, are most impacted or connected to this area. Collaborate with school teams to reflect on the 10 dimensions And after engaging in discussion with the team, you can summarize the identified resource inequities in the SPSA or other tools that Rachel shared earlier in the presentation. Keep in mind that a deeper understanding of the school or LEA's context is essential to pinpoint the most effective dimensions. Now let's consider the following scenario, as you will need more context to the data to determine the dimensions. Here is the scenario. Apple Elementary School is a Title I school-wide program school located in a diverse urban area where a significant portion of the fourth grade students come from low-income families. Throughout fourth grade, some students struggle due to limited access to homework, help, and reliable technology. While some students benefit from a wide range of enrichment opportunities, such as online resources and tutoring programs, many low-income students lack these critical supports. Recent budget cuts have eliminated after-school tutoring programs and reduced the number of classroom aides, which previously provided additional academic support. The school uses iReady assessment to measure reading comprehension and writing skills across the grade level. However, low family participation in school surveys and meetings further hinders the school's ability to fully understand and meet the unique needs of these students. Please remember this scenario is in the next few slides, we're going to refer back to this scenario. And I'm sure for some of you, this scenario may closely mirror the current challenges within your own context. So, considering this scenario, take a look at what's highlighted in blue. Which dimension is mostly impacted or connected to this area in blue? Take a look at the dimensions and place your answer in the chat, 1 through 10. So the blue says recent budget cuts have eliminated. Which dimension might it be? See a few answers coming in. That's right. Thank you for those who participate. Those of you who participated, that's right. Dimension 1, school funding. Think about this. Does the funding system distribute adequate funding based on student needs and enable flexible use of funds in ways that are clearly understood at your school, at your LEA? So think about this. So we're going to continue with the same scenario. Now take a look at what is highlighted in green. Again, which dimension is mostly impacted or connected to this area in green? It says low family participation in school surveys and meetings further limits the school's ability to fully understand and address the unique needs of these students. Here I see answers coming in the chat. As you can see, some of these dimensions might not always be crisp clear. So for this, it's dimension 6. Notice that family engagement is not a specific category, but it is part of the dimension 6, which is positive and inviting school climate. A key question to further discuss may be, does each student attend school that actively and meaningfully engages in families? Okay, and the next one. Which dimension is mostly impacted or connected to this area highlighted in red? Place your answer in the chat. Okay. This is great because actually I do see a toggle between 5 and 7. And so dimension 5 is instructional time and attention, is the dimension that looks at high quality instructional time and teacher attention. Dimension 7, student supports and intervention. That one in the article, and which is also linked in the one of the slides that I shared earlier, that one is tied closely to social, emotional, and mental support needs. So those 5 and 7 definitely go together. So if you think about this, the key question would be, does each student who need more high quality instructional time, do they receive it? So putting it all together, here are all the highlighted dimensions. As you can see, that these parts are interconnected within the context of the school. I want to remind you that you bring a wealth of context, background information, and individual stories from each student, teacher, and families for your school or for your district. Identifying the dimensions and then addressing the resource inequities is not a mystery. You are already likely engaging in this process at your school. The key question is how to systemize this approach across your LEA and your school, ensuring that it's not solely the leadership addressing these issues, but it's also about empowering your entire team and school community. So after finding the dimensions, is now engaging in the discussion to gain deeper understanding, then to determine the resource inequities. And to help you do this, we took that article that I shared with you earlier, the 10 Dimensions of Educational Resource Equity, and made it into a handout that could be easily accessible, summarized for your team. And the link to the handout is on this slide. And so as your team dives deeper in to this discussions, resource inequity, this is going to serve as a valuable tool. It poses key questions that help your district and schools conduct self-assessment to identify specific dimensions of resource equity. It's crucial that your team responses are grounded in the specific context of your school, and each answer should be followed by this question: how do you know? To foster a meaningful examination of resource inequities and their root causes. This reflective process is essential for effectively addressing and resolving these issues. And finally, as you guide your school site council, going back to school site council, and your educational partners, it's essential that this process leads to evidence-based interventions that effectively address the identified resource inequities. A comprehensive needs assessment should focus on deeply understanding the data, what it reveals, and what it may not fully capture. The SSC will analyze key data points to pinpoint performance gaps and disparities to access critical resources such as books, technology, and tutoring. Input from students, staff, and families will offer valuable perspectives on how these gaps impact student achievement and enable the SSC and the ED partners to prioritize resource needs and collectively develop a targeted solutions to address resource inequities. And later, Anita will provide further insights on evidence-based interventions in her upcoming presentation. And to close out, as a school and LEA leader, consider the following reflection questions. How do the dimensions of resource equity compare to the school or the LEA experiences and beliefs about what it takes to achieve equity of outcomes? How can these dimensions be incorporated into school planning and the comprehensive needs assessment? How can resource inequities be addressed in district and or school decision-making processes? And what next steps would advance a productive and fact-based discussion of resource equity in our system? And remember that identifying resource inequities is about more than just tracking resources. It's about recognizing disparities in student outcomes and addressing where the gaps exist so that every student has the potential to succeed. When we identify disparities, we uncover where inequities in access may be holding our students back. These inequities aren't simply about giving everyone the same thing, but about ensuring that those who need more support actually receive it, allowing them to thrive and not fall behind. True equity means providing tailored resources to lift up those who face greater challenges. And ultimately, every school's mission is to prepare every child for tomorrow, regardless of their circumstances, their parents' level of participation, or background. Ed partners, district leaders, school boards, advocates, families, educators must work together to foster meaningful conversations, understand the students' needs to mobilize resources effectively. And by doing so, we can empower every child for tomorrow, regardless of their circumstances or background.